Like Jesus paved the way, I'm just trying to be a clone. Yeah, I serve a king that's forever on the throne. Might see me rolling solo, but I'm never alone. So the places that I've been, I ain't get there on my own. It's been a lot of speculation, like I gotta give it to me. I am no one special, I just know I got that favor on me. You can look as close as you want and shine a light on my flaws. All you'll observe is a constant move of God. I'm in awe very often, gotta put a praise on it. There was a coffin with my name on it, God hand stayed on me, broke every chain on me. I'm amazed by his grace, homie, redeemed. If you knew like I knew, you would serve him too. And kick off the old garment, start running towards the mark, the crown that won't tarnish. Keep clean, wipe it down, no shaman. I know you see the fall, that's the favor of God on me. That's a glory cloud going before me. That's grace and mercy following me. I know you see the fall, so turn your high beams off. That's the favor of God on me. That's a glory cloud going before me. Grace and mercy following me. Yeah, I sing glory, glory, glory. Got the favor of God on me. Treat my Bible like my cell phone, man. I always got it on me. I be quick to use the data, flipping through the pages, dancing just like David, cause you only see me shining, you ain't see the tribulation. I used to be lost, down, bound. Now I'm a prisoner of praises. God's been so good, provider and protector, refuge in my shelter. Weather storms are raging like a hurricane or drier than a desert. Mountaintop or valley, you won't ever see me stressing. The enemy got tactics, but I be fighting back with worship, that's my weapon. You see the glow of Moses, cause I'm always in his presence. See a lamp to my feet, I'm a sheep in his pasture. His heart I'm after, completely captured by it all. I know you see the fall, that's the favor of God on me. That's a glory cloud going before me. That's grace and mercy following me. I know you see the fall, so turn your high beams off. That's the favor of God on me. That's a glory cloud going before me. Grace and mercy following me. Who knows where I'd be if it wasn't for your grace, if it wasn't for your mercy. Kept on keeping me through it all, through the pits and the falls, the setbacks and hiccups. Lord, you kept my chin up. I can't thank you enough for your love that's everlasting. People can't understand it, cause they just see the outside elevation, not the inside transformation. How you took a cold heart and replaced it with compassion, so amazing. I just wanna redirect the glory back to you. It ain't nothing but the favor. That's the favor of God. That's a glory cloud that's before me. That's grace and mercy.
Good afternoon, family, and welcome to another edition of T-Limbs Presents The Bridge. I hope you guys are hungry, because we got some tidbits for you that's going to fill you up. First and foremost, I want to say, send a shout out to our gurus, Ron and Reggie. Thank you guys for what y'all do. They're the gurus that make this happen. Today, like I said, we have a whole lot of stuff, treats for you. First and foremost, actually, I do have something to say, but that's a little later. But let's get some of these little things out the way. First and foremost, we have this young man that's going to start us off. And when I give you the cue, that's when you chime in and do your thing. But to let you know, that, and see, this is what we need to do. We need to encourage these young cats. You know what I mean? He's graduating grade school. And it's Friday, Teresa?
Yeah, Friday for 5th grade.
Okay, you know something, before we start the festivities, let's get the Spirit of God in here.
Yes.
Go ahead, son.
Lead us in prayer. Start us off.
Okay, thank you, Lord.
Thank you, Lord.
For everything you do, and thanks for this day, for coming out to show everyone how loving we are for you. And thanks for everything, for letting us come out in this rainy day, but we can make it out of this day and make sure that we love our others. And some people that couldn't make it, we got stuck in traffic, but we still got here, and you follow us through and made us got here perfectly for her birthday, and that Miss Twyla for her birthday. And we want to celebrate and give us some gifts and goodies and stuff like that. And thanks for letting us come here and having a lot of joy for this fine, good, rainy day. And let's enjoy this day with all our might And thank you, God, for letting us be here to enjoy all the things that you led us through. And now we come out here for the Connect to the Bridge and starting off with a fun, good day at Connect to the Bridge. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right, I like that. I couldn't say it better. For our audience last week, we apologize. We had a few technical difficulties. It was hard getting that out. Technical difficulties. But we had some. Yeah, it was. That wasn't. It was. How they do that little. Well, that's some old stuff. But anyway, we had some difficulties, but we're back
verbal
now.
Robot?
Yes.
Who?
Your verbal robot.
My verbal robot.
Your verbal robot.
Who is that?
Never mind. You know what we're talking about.
She's having difficulties too now, folks. But and she has a reason why. She's a year older, and we welcome you to welcome us, to welcome her, our queen, and her day of birth. Happy birthday to you.
Oh my.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Twala. Happy birthday to you.
And many more.
And many more. Okay, so we're going to get these festivities
halfway there.
out the way. Twyla, this is from us, because we care about you. And you know something, like I said before, Twyla does so much for us
Yes.
that we can't say enough.
Yes.
But just to read the front of this card, the world is a brighter place because of the positive, powerful woman that you are.
Wow.
Oh, wait a minute. How do you do it? That ain't for you to shake. You know how they bow and
right.
Oh.
to the queen.
To the queen.
Okay.
That's right.
So I'm giving you. You can't read all that. But
When God set you down on this earth, he wasn't kidding around. Wow. You are a force for good. A no-nonsense, get things done. You all making me cry. Live life to the hilt, amazing woman. I'm so blessed to be part of your circle. So glad to wish you an entire year of joys. Happy birthday from everyone that's listed.
did I do that right? Is this right?
I think so.
Yeah.
And the other one,
Okay.
Twyla,
This
you're
ain't no Jay-Z, no mess. This is a heart.
a
Yes.
wonderful woman of
Okay.
God with a big heart, and we're so glad we know you. Hope you enjoy a birthday filled with all the blessings you deserve. Love you, everyone. I have to tell you all, I'm trying not to cry. You all, thank you so much.
You deserve it, and
You
we
deserve
appreciate
that and more.
appreciate you.
And
We-
more.
Look at this stuff.
This is handmade, handcrafted jewelry
Beautiful.
by Marie Hardy. So if you want some good jewelry, contact
yeah.
us. We'll
Yes.
connect you with Marie Hardy. This is handmade,
See,
personally selected
we can do it. Us.
jewelry.
We can
I
do it.
like that. We can do it.
You see this?
Yes.
You won't find anybody else walking around with this.
Let me help you out.
And I'm thankful.
Aww.
You know how much time it takes just to craft something with your hands?
Yeah.
You know, I used to make little macaroni
You know,
things
so
for parents in school.
we used to do that, but we've gotten
Oh
away.
my gosh.
Yeah.
Marie, thank you so much. You and
Thank
Tom,
you.
you all such
This is the
inspiration to
bracelet.
me. And not to forget, oh my gosh, wait a minute.
Hold on.
Oh, yes.
This, we're going to be,
Oh, we're going to throw down.
we're going to throw it down on this. Wait, no, I got to open it up
Let's
so you
do
can
it.
see how
Just
pretty
come
it
on, do
is.
it.
No. This is from my cousin.
Cousin.
Oh, no. See that? See, it doesn't get better than that. See, when I was growing up, we call him Stiff Lucy. But this is just from the best cousin Ghana has ever seen in life.
Oh, wow.
Francis.
I told you
Francis.
guys.
Yes.
I hope you're hungry
Yes.
because we're going to feed you, but we're going to feed you with knowledge.
Yes.
What
That's
kind?
for us.
Look,
But
look.
you
He
know,
said, what kind of cake?
Wait a
He said,
minute,
what kind of
wait a minute.
cake?
What kind? Francis,
What kind
you
of-
want
what kind of
He
some?
said, what kind of cake is
Oh,
it? He said,
you know,
it's cake.
This is a chocolate cake.
It's a chocolate.
strawberry?
A chocolate
No,
cake.
chocolate.
The
Chocolate.
Cho-
Okay.
yes.
Okay. All right.
But this is
all right.
Ghanaian style.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Ghanaian
You don't know.
Again.
Going
like-
home.
Okay.
So,
We got Francis here.
yes.
You know, so like I said, today's a special day, and you know something. It's a build up to next week. So next
Yes.
week has its own thing. As a matter of fact, tune in to Abstract
Excellent.
excellence,
Yeah.
because that's our Father's Day program that we have for you guys. Let me say this right quick, and then we can kind of like. Okay, I got two things. No, I got one thing, and then we're going to give
Somebody
it to
else
you
Oh,
to read this. But anyway, I had mentioned last week, and it's important that I was watching this program, When They See Us.
Yes.
And you know, it's about the Central Park 5 guys that got incarcerated, you know, unjustly. And one of the scenes where the guy had, you know, told his son to lie, and he was innocent. And I just wanted to, again, shout out to my children to let them know I would rather die first than give you up. So get that in your heart and get that in your
Please.
spirit.
Oh, that's
That's
special.
from me
That's
to
special.
you guys. And like I said, I want to get that out to you guys. Another thing, well, I did say I had 2 things to do. I'm going to give it to Twyla. But black men, wake the bleep up. You know something? The revolution is being televised.
Okay.
They're killing us daily. They have waged war against us. And we need to start doing something to take back our children, take back our daughters. I made up a word.
oh, I'm not surprised.
And I call it wait a minute. The whole patizing of our daughters. Whole patizing. So they're turning our daughters into hoes, you know. So again, we need to get back involved in the game, because you know something, it's a war going on. And you know something, it is being waged against black men. Black men, why don't you want to be a black man? First and foremost, let me take the black off of it. Why don't you want to be a man? Our young men are being demasculated. You know what I mean? Don't want to be.
Bring your blood pressure down.
It's serious and it's urgent. And y'all see it, like I said, the revolution is being televised. Get back involved in your children's life. Take back your children. You know what I mean? Because you know something, every other group is surpassing us. We're the only ones that call each other's names, derogatory names that they use. And we wear these things like they're a badge of honor. That's not a badge of honor. That's just a way of tearing us down even more. They pay us for this, to get on TV, to act like a dang on buffoon. You know what I mean? So
That's
you know,
called control.
and it is control. Where's your dignity? Black men, wake up. Ladies, keep them closed. I mean, you know something? Know your self-worth. Black men, know your self-worth. You know what I mean? Because you know something now, we have to, as men, portray that image as men for young men like the young man that led us out today in prayer. You know, that we have to show them the way, make them want to grow up to be a man, not to grow up to be Teresa, although that's his mom, but I mean, but still, men be men.
Amen.
Men, teach your sons. You ain't got to like the mama. Mamas, stop raising these boys to be sissies. Yes, I said it. Sissies. Broke wrists. I ain't gonna say the rest, but anyway, ladies, and you can do it just because you're alone. I come from a single parent family, so you can do it. Raise your, you know something.
But see, that also was the thing about, and is that there was a village.
Okay,
There were other
well.
people. There were people in the neighborhood. There were other people's fathers. There were other people's mamas. It was,
True.
and that's what we don't have now. We don't have a collective called community anymore. All we have is a bunch of neighborhoods with fractured households. So that hurts. So that means when black men are looking for leadership and for guidance, they don't know where to look. Well, stay tuned. We're going to help you out with that.
Absolutely.
We're going to help
and,
you out
and you
with
know
that.
so we're going to get them dang on gatekeepers, the kumbayaters. We're getting them out. We're going to expose them. As a matter of fact, we talked about last week about the political people that's running for office, you know, that's trying to get your vote and things of that nature. Okay, I'm going to shut up right now, just for a minute, though. Just for a minute. But anyway, I'm going to turn this over to the Queen, because the Queen has something very important to tell you guys and to share with you guys, and we want you guys to know what's going on. Here you go, Twyla.
Fox Wave here. We're a family, and I don't know if you watched the previous show. It was Coach was on, and he was talking about unforgiveness and how that's just a cancer that's pervasive in many of our lives. And it's unfortunate that Bruce Gilmore, who was a member of the Fox family, died on the 5th of this month. It's with great sadness that we inform you of the passing of Bruce Gilmore of the Talk of the Town, Around Town show here at Fox Wave. He passed away this past Wednesday. He had been a valued member of the team since February 2018. And he will be greatly missed. So please, please, please keep his family in your thoughts and their prayers and your prayers and your petitions. This is a very difficult time. And please don't stop watching the clip of this fallen soldier. Please don't, okay?
Thank you.
Our guest today, he has been here before. He is our brother.
Yes.
He is our scholar.
Yes.
He has a portfolio it's so dynamic, and it's just an opportunity that I'm pleasurable to be able to say that I've experienced. His name is Haki S. Ami. He is a co-author of this award-winning book called Mission Unstoppable, Extraordinary Stories of Failures and Blessings. And it is a really good read. It's a great book. That's my copy right there, so don't eyeball it, but you can go to his website and get it. You know, you can. It's a great book. But he's here to talk to us about networking. He's caught the eyes of national executives in Hollywood and insiders. Like he was on the Black Business Empowered filming Black Friday Part 2 with Black billionaire and CEO Mike Roberts. Haki Ami is being featured as a subject matter in the film Release the Chains Part 2, which is directed by Ari Squires and our award-winning actor Isaiah Washington. He has followers that follow him daily, but the success scholar, who we know him as, success scholar Haki Ami, he is a dynamic gentleman, and one day I'm expecting to see him hold a political office in Baltimore. We're just waiting.
Oh, it's just a matter
No
of time.
pressure.
Oh, but see, because of his book and his dynamic personality, you know, networking, which is this show is about. So look for him and support him.
Absolutely.
Haki, I'm sorry. Let me jump in there.
Go ahead,
Haki,
jump.
before we even get started, tell them how to get in contact with you. You know, your email address.
Certainly. Well, Success Scholar, my website is successscholarhaki.com. That's all together, successscholarhaki.com. Also on Instagram, Success Scholar. On IG or on Twitter is Success Scholar #1. So those are some ways. As well, my email, hakiami@gmail.com. That's one word, HAKIAMMI@gmail.com.
Wait a minute. You read 100 books a year?
I have
Okay.
at one particular time.
Man. And I think I thought I was doing something. I have all these books to the side. Nice. I'm reading like several books at one time.
No, and that's
my.
That's good.
Oh my. Let me ask you this.
Sure.
How did you get started into reading and being such a voracious reader? Were you always a voracious reader?
No, absolutely not.
Really?
I mean, and this is what what you were saying earlier in terms of our young people. We have to understand that there's a mass programming operation going on within our community, and so realizing that at one particular time when I kind of realized that I was being programmed into certain behaviors to create this ignorance, it was like, how did I get here?
Right.
And this is what, the curiosity of understanding how did we get here as a people as well, put me on a mission, once we understand our history, you can't read our history and not be angry, like you talked about the recent film that really, has opened up many more people who generally don't, are walking
that
around.
wouldn't be aware, because actually I heard about it, but I didn't know the particulars in reference to it. And just to see a system that's in place that is supposed to protect the people, how it broke down, how it failed, and how it was systematically geared towards incarcerating these boys
Yes,
boys.
yes,
They
yes,
weren't even men,
Wow,
boys.
wow.
And that was back in '89.
Yeah.
So now it's 2018, and they took it to the next level. They saved you taxpayers some money. How? By killing y'all.
Yes, yes.
Go
No,
ahead,
no,
sir.
no. And it's interesting that you mentioned that because I think that that's a spinoff from, Ava DuVernay, who's
Yeah,
the film.
she's
She
a
is
phenomenal filmmaker.
Yes.
Just absolutely, probably one of the first filmmakers that really says what needs to be said. I'm sorry.
Yes, no, she
Unabashedly.
absolutely
Yes.
is. And I don't know if any of you all have seen her film before.
14.
13.
13.
13, yes.
Talking
Yes.
about the
Yeah.
13th
Yes.
Amendment. Now,
Yeah.
she actually got part of that analysis, and in that 13th is Michelle Alexander, who
Oh, the
wrote
new
the
Jim
new
Crow.
Jim Crow.
Wow.
And let me say something about that film. And reading
Okay.
these hundreds of books that I've read, and when I read that one, it's only a few books that have made me cry, but that made me actually cry.
Wow.
I mean, from years and years. But I say that to say that was impactful, knowing, and now it's on a bigger screen, just what's going on. So we have to dig into those issues.
Yes.
But it's interesting that you mentioned that we are at war, and then I have this documentary.
Share, yes.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Put it up so they can see it.
Yes, Yusef Salam, who is a part of the Central Park Five, is actually in this film.
Wow.
Really?
Yes, Race War, and actually Kaaba. This film was put together by the creators of 7 a.m. and Gentrified, but it has Kaaba, Kamini, as well as two neo-nationalist white supremacists in this film. So kind of listen to what the more extreme, because many people, when they say racism, it's like some white folk, they actually are really racist. They think about their race like more than the average white person. See, Donald Trump on some levels, these type of white people they think Donald Trump is
Too soft.
yes. So we got to understand, the whole Nazi, philosophy in terms of, the global system of racism, white supremacy, what Dr. Welsing has
So I miss
laid
her.
out. Absolutely.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we got to look at those dynamics. So I just wanted to put that out there. But yes.
A good point. Hakeem Key, again, when you think of racism, it's not just the burning of a cross.
What comes to your mind when you say that word racism? What comes to your mind?
It's a system that is designed to perpetrate what the word means.
What is when?
And so that covers a broad band. I mean, this is just my opinion. It covers a broad band. It could be burning of the cross, the Jim Crow things, different aspects.
So when you say racism, okay, so when we say the word racism, usually in America we think about it's black and white. It's kind of, that's how we've been conditioned from our history,
Exactly,
to think of when we say racism. But now if you're talking about someone else coming here to this country, that word racism means something totally different. So how do we make people understand what it looks like here in our eyes so they can understand what it is that we are, I'm sure that Francis is from Ghana, and the word racism has a different connotation for someone living in Ghana compared to a black growing up here in America versus someone coming from Trinidad or someone on the south side of Chicago.
Well, like I said, it's a system, and it doesn't matter if it's here in America or if it's here in Ghana, like it's or South
But
Africa.
what does it mean?
It's a system that is used to oppress a people.
But every system that
you know what I mean?
oppresses isn't racism. Some
In a sense,
systems,
it's
some
a
systems,
form of-
well, some systems that
You see what I'm
oppress,
saying?
are
Yeah,
classism.
yeah.
Right.
Like in India, the Brahma Indians,
got
and they
the
have their
caste
caste
system.
system, and even in Nigeria, there's a caste system. The houses are this, and then the Igbo were here and Yoruba. So even with that, but when you're talking about this right
Yeah,
here,
I'd be interested to hear how
Yeah.
you define it. How key with your
Well,
book.
no,
your
well,
take.
interesting. And I'm gonna read a little part of the
Okay.
back here, just because it's so appropriate. It said, "Now is the time to ask: Is it still just racism, or is it a race war?" You know, so
That's
I
powerful.
mean, and we got to really understand that this is reality of living in this world, and sometimes many of us are not like walking around conscious that like you said, what would your comment that they are trying to kill you,
Trying to
like,
kill you.
yes,
Yeah.
So you know, if for instance, massively, like collective consciousness wise, young people and adults, if we understood that this is like, I use the example of a battlefield, for instance, and if you're on post, or you're watching for adversaries, you know, you're supposed to have a certain posture, if
Right.
you will. So if we understand that, you know, that an attack is imminent, we wouldn't be walking around doing the things that we're doing
Well, see,
on
that's,
some level. So
that's
it's
the
like,
problem
yes.
that I have is that I don't see it as a war because we don't even know that we are on the battlefield.
A good point.
So that's my point, is that the racism has been, we have just been subjugated to such a state intellectually. And that's why, like, I get on my son all the time about reading, that you don't know what you don't know. Because a lot of us, when we don't experience the world outside of us, really do live in caves. And so it's a war when you kind of know you're at battle. But we've been so beaten down, and it's not just, it is anybody, I think, of color. It goes beyond even to ask your question, is it racism? I think it's built on classism, but I think that it's economically, it starts there. But then right now we have really pushed the envelope to what it is. It's less than human.
But it is a war.
Right.
It's a war.
It is a war.
It's a war
Go ahead.
because I'm speaking as a position from a position of educator now. Majority of schools I taught in were mostly in hood or you know, repressed communities. The schools our children went to were the finer schools. One school taught in, they had one set of science books in the classroom. Those books couldn't leave the classroom. They had to try to take notes. If you weren't a copious note taker, but you still required to take that test every year for the standardized testing in school. I remember taking the school books from our daughter's schools and making copies of them and then putting them in binders and bringing them so that every child could have their own science quality material. Now, when I brought that up, it was, well, you know, the school districts, every school depends on how much the revenue from the taxes of the property there,
Right.
which that is a flag. So when you talk to other parents about this is what happens. Well, you know, I pay taxes and, you know, and I work, you know, and that shouldn't be the way. And I say, yes, that shouldn't be the way, but this is the way it is.
Right.
So what are we going to do about it? The problem is that people are apathetic in our
that's the
neighborhoods
point. That's the
because they
point.
leave the
They
work for
don't
you
even
to
know.
do.
Right, they don't even
They
know.
leave it for you to do. I understand people got lives, people work, and people. But listen, I was one of those parents too. I worked a full-time job. I coached 3 sports. I had children. I had grandparents
But
that
I
were
think,
ill.
I think the difference is, because I've heard this argument from people before, and I've always been that's the reason why we have leaders and followers. Because not everybody can be a leader in a certain area.
But if I'm leading, why don't you follow?
Well, yeah,
and
that's
and
true.
and that's the
That's
apathy.
the
It's like,
key.
okay, I understand you don't have all the resources
But
and the tools,
that's why
but
I always argue the point about whether or not it's a war, because
It's
when
a
you are
war.
in a war, you know you're
it's
fighting
not
something.
always.
Some
not-
people don't
yeah.
even
Look at the
people
means
that,
and the methods that
Yeah.
they're using. Now, it's so settled.
that's yeah.
And
I don't think it's subtle.
so-called the Emancipation, the Proclamation was supposed to give us our liberties.
Right.
And okay, we sat back on that. Okay, we're free now. Now we're so-called free, but what did they do? They come up with more laws to enhance the playing field or the battlefield, if you will. And again, so we fight through that. And then with each step that we take forward, or liberty, that should I say, that we take forward, we become more relaxed
Yeah.
and complacent to the point now our so-called generals
We become lazy.
who was supposed to be
I call it more
doing the battle
ignorant.
for us are not fighting. Now they're fighting. They put on the facade that they're fighting for us, but again, they're gatekeepers.
Right.
You know, so they're keeping us off of them. They're making them feel safe. And as long as you make us feel safe, you'll keep your generalship. You know what I mean? So again, in laying back, we're relying on our generals to the point that it got to the point to where it is now.
But the
Our
generals work
aren't
for
really generals
the
anymore.
generals work for the other team.
They're
That's
working for the
problem.
enemy.
They work for
Exactly.
the enemy.
Exactly.
So of course they're not. And I think Haki, the main thing that I really love about the Success Scholar is the fact that your goal is to enlighten, inspire, get people to think. Right. So can you tell us in terms of what you see in terms of the landscape, what is the potential solution to this?
Right after this break. Right after this break. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Don't go anywhere. Stick around for more.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening sky.
Let it resound loud as the rolling sea.
Our organization is called T-LIBS, and that stands for The Lord is My Shepherd. We're a nonprofit organization. We have several branches, like the limbs of a tree. One of our branches is Infinity Speaks. One is the Ouch Girl. One is Imagination Press. One is Connect to the Bridge. We also on boxwave.com. Every Sunday we come shortly behind Ebony. Ebony's on from 1 to 2. We're on from 4 to 5. And we have a show called Connect to the Bridge. And what we're doing, we're connecting resources of individuals. We're also connecting and re-Africanizing ourselves. We talk about social, political, economic, spiritual. We do the whole gamut of everything. So we also do publishing. We do writing, we do music, we do a whole lot of things. And we just started this new branch called T-LIBS
Oh,
Teams.
July. I'm sorry.
And we're back. Haki is going to answer the question that Teresa posed from right before the break.
And the question is this, given the landscape and where we are today, what do you see looking forward that we need to do to kind of pull ourselves out of this race war?
Well, interesting that you mentioned that because just the other day, Oprah Stedman was in town. He wrote a book on, it's out now. It's on leadership, and someone asked him a question, about the mayor of Baltimore. He's interested in investing in Baltimore as well. So someone asked a question about the mayor and everything, and his comment was basically that we got to focus on ourselves first and foremost,
That's right.
and build our own power, and understand
Akeem, hold
what our
on.
power is.
Let me cut you off.
Sure.
And I want y'all to understand when he means ourselves, not individually, but collectively, because we're working on we're doing this individual. I got mine, you get yours. Right. We have that mentality now, but I just wanted them to understand.
And I understand that. And here's the thing, and I don't know what, I don't want to put words in Stedman's mouth, but just understanding that when we're able first to implement and execute more, better, through what we're talking about, even through owning our own space, our own community, it's going to take, a collective action like what we've been talking about, but individuals got to show up.
That's
right.
Because there's so many distractions out here. People are in so many different areas of life, and some of us just don't want to, wake up, of sorts. And so it's kind of like when we're organizing, it's like where's our tribe? Where's our network? Who's our
leader? Who's our leader?
Yes. And so,
but here's the question. But why do we need?
Well,
I wanted to say
we don't often need a leader, but what we do is we need to converge and come up as a group, as you mentioned, Sean, collectively with some decision making as it relates to, and that's what the bridge does, political, social, economic, educational issues. And if we don't start it now, my biggest concern is I don't think we understand how bad of the shape that we're in. I don't think we intellectually, from what I've read,
I would agree
really
with you.
get what's wrong. And then the second aspect of that, I mean, we talk about it, but when you really start to see this, when we talk about racism, the one thing we know is it's a systemic problem. It is a systemic problem. And we look at race in the Americas from the perspective of African Americans and what has been done to us. But when I started looking out globally to the African cultures, where kids can't even get an education because they have to pay a fee, where you can't build, where you're literally taking crops and making them poisoning the crops so that you will never have anything sustainable in these lands, then it really concerns me. But the only thing that makes me feel good is I'm a faith person, and my hope is not on man anyway. My hope is built on Christ, and I know that might sound corny to people, but it's true. And the one thing I know is that God is all in the history. And so since he's all in the history, we have the ability to make that turn or to make that change. And I see the change coming.
Well,
I
Teresa,
see.
let me piggyback off what you're saying. We were watching Pastor Gino.
Gino Jennings?
Yes.
Jennings,
Yeah.
yeah. He was saying that, first we have to start in our house.
Yes.
Yeah.
If your house is
Yeah.
in disarray,
Yes. Yeah.
I expect you to come over my house and clean mine.
it up.
Yeah.
But your house in disarray. But you want to come over my house.
Right.
So we have to start within
There.
our homes.
That's a good point.
Within our homes and get your home, get your house in order.
This is why I constantly stress that it's not a problem to have concern for other people's sorrows. Immigrants at the border. I don't like the fact that the children were separated, but I have my view is that you're not supposed to be there from the start because you broke
that's a
you
ploy,
broke
too.
through the gates in Mexico to get through to the border, and I'm still stuck on this spot here. There's racism in how we treat immigrants here. Immigrants that are of Latin descent are treated totally differently than immigrants of African ancestry. I still can't get over, and I have friends who have nightmares and sorrows to this day about the persons that they had to turn around and turn away in the boats that came from Haiti when you knew doggone well that the president, Jean-Bertrand Aristide, had been overthrown by the general, and that you gave him asylum. So if the president had to flee the country, what about the people?
Wow.
And you let men, women, and children die in watery graves, and no one has made atonement for it, and no one seems to care. So when you say you care about something, make it cross the board, or I don't want to hear that. Miss me with that. So I'm still stuck with that.
And I hear
So-
you, but I
so-
don't think that will. I believe that. I think you mentioned this, that until a people stand up for themselves, nobody pays attention.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is this, I'm getting to this, is
Right.
that so we concern ourselves as black people. I listened to the politicians that were running for office last
Right.
year, Stacey Abrams and the guy in
Gilliam.
right. And the main thing they were talking about was immigration at the border. Okay, that is an issue. But what about in your neighborhoods where people can own their own homes?
Right.
What about the schools that
What
are
about
falling
the death rate
apart?
of young
What about the
African-American men?
incarceration of young men and
Yeah.
women? What about that? What about the loss of employment and economic solvency? Talk about those things first. I'm not saying anything disrespectful, but I am saying every Latin politician, and I do mean every, the first thing come out of their mouth is immigration, and I've never, I hope I didn't break the glass, and I probably did. I did. I never, okay, let me finish it up. I never, ever, ever hear any of them, don't move that too far
Talking
from
about
me.
black
I ain't
people.
going nowhere.
Talk
but-
about the problems in urban America as it pertains to black folks. I never do. So what I'm saying is that black people need to wake up and say, okay, I understand there's issues going on here, but we got to take care of our house first.
Right.
And
that's what Sean, I think, is mentioning, and I
exactly.
think it's an excellent point.
And it's
And
nothing against anybody else, but we need to take care of home,
Right.
black issues before we start working on
We can't fix anything.
gay issues or whatever. That
Anything.
just hurt me to say
Anything.
that,
And
but,
that's all I'm saying
you
is
know.
that we don't. There was a time when black, well, that was all you could focus on. You know what I mean?
But
Was
we
what
also, but I believe, and I don't think we've systematically taken an economic perspective of a look at what happened after the civil rights legislation was passed, because we then started relying on the government. You remember, if it was a kid that a mother who was unwed, she had a kid. What do we do with those kids? An auntie or uncle took them in, and you didn't have this huge legal system that I think the government has. We rely way too much on the government
Oh, I agree
for a
with
lot
you
of
there.
things.
Yes.
Throw in?
And then they get into that point, and then it's a mess.
Jermaine.
And we don't have the control. Sorry, Jermaine.
Along with that point, I think the bigger problem is that we also depend squarely on the K through 12 system.
Yes, that's
It
a
is-
good point.
Especially when you're looking at what we're competing against, when you're comparing racism, different things. Like, part of the problem is we aren't actually exposed or prepared to take the next step for ownership, entrepreneurship. So when you get to that point, we're lost. So we're almost literally bred to be workers.
Right. And
Strictly.
I think Stan, who's not here, but he pointed that out, is that the educational system to me is fraught.
Yes, and we will
Fraught,
we will
like
get
you
deeper
said.
into these things on abstract,
Next week.
abstract excellence
Next
next week, baby.
Okay. Yeah, but we've got, and so until people start to, first of all, educate themselves, and that's what you've done. And I want you to talk a little bit, Haki, about your journey and how you personally,
Got from there to here.
got from there to here.
Well,
Thank you.
certainly. One thing I consider myself to listen to wise people, and this is where, you know, each of us are going to have to choose who we listen to, you know, and that's the most valuable thing that we can do. Find individuals that have navigated, for instance, through this I say landmine, shall I say, and really model their successes, what they've done, and how they've been able to move forward. Like, there's a Baba Kamal Kambone out of Durham, North Carolina, and one of his terms that he created is subtle suicide.
I like that term.
You know,
I like
and
that.
many people who work in the health field see the rise of suicide within our community, and you know, but there are many smaller things that we're doing in our community to ourselves that we're not like conscious of, that really take away our life. And
Why
so
do you
this
think
is
we're
where
not
we have to
conscious?
programming and massive
We don't.
kind of, you know, and this is where access to information, and we got to understand, like, we've been conditioned, you know, throughout slavery to not read. I mean, it was a law
Yep.
that actually, you know,
Yes.
like, you get caught reading, you will die, you know.
Punishable
And
by
so
death,
why
yeah.
did they do that? Why do they keep particular information away from us, you know? And so that was my passion. Like, once I understood, you know, about Frederick Douglass and Malcolm, what they went through and their process, you know, it's like, we got to understand, what Frederick Douglass say, an enlightened person can never remain a slave.
Yep.
So, you know, and that's what we have to do.
When the Black Panthers were in their elevated status, on Saturdays they had Saturday school.
Yes, yes.
Now,
yes.
I know that if you go to a synagogue on Sundays, that's what they're doing. Now they have their Sabbaths on Saturday, and then
And
Sunday,
in the Asian community.
and in the Asian community as well.
Right.
They have school where
Yes.
it's an indoctrination. Yes, it is, and
Yes.
it's not negative. It's just heritage and information. It's not even.
And they have figured out that we need to carve out some time from the big system so that in the smaller microcosm you can know where you fit in.
Their culture.
They're teaching their culture.
And I think that, and this is not a plug, but we figured it out too, because this you guys have seen it in red. That's basically what abstract is. It's figuring out a way to get away from K through 12, not necessarily get away from it, but to add on almost the extracurricular to give our kids the same opportunity that everybody else's kids have. And that starts with growing from that age, right? Well, actually a little younger.
Actually, yeah.
Because we can't go back and change what's happened already. And I agree, you know, we have to be enlightened in order to go forward. Because we've talked about this, bridging the gaps and connecting the bridge.
The bridge.
And that's what the bridge is about.
Yeah, we have to go forward though with understanding that, okay, yes, they did this, they did that, but they aren't doing anything to us now, to be honest with you. Like,
Right.
we are our own worst enemy. So if
Remote
you
control.
understand.
Yeah.
It's a remote control.
Yeah, once you've been conditioned,
What is it?
you know,
The
we don't
book,
have
the
to
Willie
keep.
Lynch?
We don't have to
The
keep.
Willie Lynch laws
Exactly.
are in
Something as
effect.
simple as I just heard you say conditioning, and we just had a show a couple of weeks ago with just Miss Didi about
The
the
sugar.
sugar.
The Sugar
Understand
Foundation.
something as simple as diet.
Yeah.
The things we pick up
Yes.
and put in our mouth that kill us every single day
Yes.
that we feel we can't break away from.
Right.
Something as simple as the soda, like she said, we drink 3-4 soda. Well, I don't personally, but so like just simple things.
And it's targeted towards our community. Some things are targeted towards our
Yeah, that's
community.
why the commercials, the
And-
advertisements.
And I
promotion,
think, Haki, if you could speak to some of the things that you've noticed in the community as well that are targeted, because that is the case.
Right.
It's not by chance.
Right.
Exactly.
It's by
One thing-
design.
Yeah, it's by
Also,
design.
also, Haki, to follow what Teresa said. Also, I noticed your badge. Black money matters. So,
Black money
so,
matters,
so,
right,
so,
let me
you know,
represent.
just expand it.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely, and thank you for that, Teresa. So this Black Money Matters, that's a movement in the Baltimore area, a sister attorney that's, you know, kind of conscious about that. And but interesting that you mentioned in terms of, you know, what's going on in our community. I mean, just understanding, you know, some of the disparities in terms of course, poverty, of course, and the ramifications of that, you know, like, and it's like a lot of these so-called leaders, I mean, they're part of it. They, you know, they allow for the disproportionate amount of liquor stores
Yes.
within our community, the poor quality of food. I mean, the food deserts. So, you know, we have to understand, you know, that many of these things, like you mentioned about the economic dynamics, but there's definitely a racial dynamics to much of that as well. So, as organizers that I consider all of us here, you know, we got to understand the institutions, the power that we have, the church, you know,
Yes.
potentially, as well as our HBCUs, and you know, and understanding that some of our elected officials can, you know, do certain things. They may not be able to do everything, but this is why, you know, someone like me is balancing out between the economic analysis and the political analysis and the power of the church, and you know, working with our HBCUs. So I got my Morgan State hat. My little sister just graduated from there. She just got her master's in more social
Wonderful.
work. So
Very good. Yeah.
Oh, and I'm also in this Speakers Magazine. I know I want to let
Yes.
everybody, you know, you can go to that website, speakersmagazine.com, or just Google Speakers Magazine. I'm on page 6 and that. So, but definitely thank you all for, you know, having me. I know we got a couple minutes, and, you know, some other guests are here as well. So, yeah, definitely.
No, you're
Speakers
the- you're
Magazine.
it.
No, no,
You're
I mean,
it.
other people as well. So,
And we love to hear
all
from
your program.
you.
yeah,
So
no, I appreciate
you.
that.
And
And
good to
Black
talk about
Friday, part 2, and you know, Rick Mathis down in Atlanta. And coming up, I just want to plug that I'll be going to the Black Enterprise Conference. That's in Charlotte, North Carolina, June 19th through the 21st, 22nd. So I'm going
Maybe down
there.
there where Dee Dee's located. We need to give you a connection down there too.
Okay, please,
Yes,
please,
'cause
please.
She was just here a few weeks ago from Charlotte.
Okay.
Can I get
With the
some
Sugar
information on
Foundation.
that from you too?
Yeah,
And,
I sure
that's
will.
where she's
I
based
sure
out
will.
of.
And then I'm heading to Houston like a week after for the Power Networking Conference. That's Dr. George C. Frazier's conference. And
he's in your book.
the
You want to talk a little
yes.
bit about
so
the
so
book?
my book, Mission Unstoppable, Dr. George C. Frazier, and I was about to say Claude Anderson, but Les Brown. But so, you know, he does the Power Networking Conference. He was just actually here at the Reginald F. Lewis Museum a few, like 2-3 weeks ago. He did a presentation there at the Reginald F. Lewis Museum, so I was there for that. And that's the thing, you know, getting into these different networks. Dr. Frazier has certainly a much larger network than
Right.
myself, and Les, of course.
Right.
So, you know, just being able to open up and create their brands and partner with different people. So that's one strategy in terms of networking
Right.
that I've learned to leverage other people's successes.
Right.
Say that again. To
leverage other people's successes.
I
right?
like that.
Yes,
I like that.
absolutely.
Well,
Broad credibility. Right.
You know
Yeah.
something again, and we need this now. Imagine, if you will. Let's go back in time during slavery and the things that they had to do collectively in order to survive. Now, in this day and age, when we have resources, let's use them.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Let's use them.
And that's how we know that something was going on supernaturally, because I look back at my grandmother and all of the things that she was able to accomplish. And I know it could not have been, the system certainly, we had Jim Crow laws back then.
Yeah,
So the system was not.
Was not geared
Yeah, so
towards.
obviously,
You
there was
said
something.
something clutch for me. I'm along the lines of, I understand past, present, future for whatever reason to give, but I'm more along the lines of faith when we're talking God. Like, they didn't have a lot of the stuff that we have now, but somehow they lived to be 89. God is real.
Yeah,
Understand
yeah,
that
yeah,
point.
right.
And that
Right.
was the key. That's
Right.
really the key
Right.
connector.
But they
Right.
also
From there to
had
there.
a whole more holistic lifestyle, and
That's
the
exactly.
stresses that they had were different types of stresses. You didn't have to worry about this, you didn't worry about that. You focused on this, you focused on that, because you only could go to this person for care, so you knew that that was a reliable person. You went to black doctors, you went to black dentists, you went to black attorneys, you went to black dry cleaners, because because that's what you had to go to.
Right.
So it was the best of the best for what you had, and
Right.
people zeroed in.
Well,
but
you
somehow
built the
we got,
wealth. You
that's
built the
right.
wealth in the
But we got
community.
we
Right.
got brainwashed into thinking that what we had wasn't good enough.
Right.
Right.
So by doing that, we thought that bigger was better, and bigger wasn't better. Bigger's just bigger.
Right. And I just want to give a shout out, although I don't know the name of the movie, but on Netflix, they have a movie from a little kid that grew up in Africa who did the, do you remember the name? Yeah. But it was about a little boy whose family, they were suffering and they were about to starve because the crops wouldn't grow, and he created a wind
Oh,
tunnel.
right. Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about. I
And
haven't
it
seen
is just
yet,
a
though.
small movie
I've
like
seen
that,
that.
but we really have to invest in making sure we have information and for our youth and reading, because to me, we're great people. I've been around a lot. And what I do know is Africans and African Americans have, when it comes to creativity, it's easy.
Oh, yeah.
It comes just like that. So I think we also need to support and recognize that the skill sets we have are wonderful. They just need to be channeled and pulled out, and that's what
It's
Connect to
really-
the Bridge
yeah,
is
it
about.
really is just mindset, because you got a lot of people say this on a regular.
Yes.
Fear is the thing that drives the laws and the
Yes.
government. So why do they fear us?
Yes.
If we're so,
Yes.
if we are so
Yeah.
violent and useless and lazy, why
What
do you
is there to
copy
fill?
everything that we do?
Yeah,
Why do you
that's-
copy every style?
That's just the
everything?
lie.
Yeah,
Why
that's
do
the
you
lie.
fear?
The
That's just-
untold,
that's
the
just
untold
the
lie.
You know what I mean?
So what I'm saying is, at that point,
Yeah.
we can't waste our time arguing back and forth about that.
Yes.
each other.
If
Yes.
we understand who we are, it's
Yes.
not. You said something earlier when I
Yeah.
was watching. Yes, there is a war, but it's really not a war against us. It's a war within ourselves.
Yes.
Because once we understand our own power, what can you do to stop me?
Nothing.
I said this to
Nothing.
Doc on the phone the other
Nothing.
day. I'm at this point now
Nothing.
where it's like, listen, I walk in the room.
Yes.
And if you get me in the room,
Yes.
abstract excellence is gone.
Yes.
In the room,
Okay.
like, listen,
Hey,
I'm
woo,
at that point.
woo, woo. I like that.
It's
I
Yeah.
like
the power
that.
inside of me that I
Yes.
Yes.
God
Yes.
is real.
Yes, that's right.
Now,
But
in
that's
in
right.
that regard, you know something, again, now going spiritually, each of us have a time and space for our birth
Right.
and our death. Now, again, I say that to say you were born in this era.
Right.
You weren't born when we were born.
Exactly.
We were born in our era because we wasn't born in slavery, because me personally, I could have been one.
Because you're thinking in the
I
mind, but
couldn't
see,
have been
but
one.
see, we can say that because this is where we are today, and our mind today.
No, I understand
See,
that, but
so
like I said,
if you
okay,
were there,
no, I told my mama to stop whooping me. She better not hit me no more. That's my mama.
and what
Doc.
happened?
Doc, that's another conversation.
I don't
Doc. Let it go, Doc.
Yeah,
Let it go.
when he woke up, it was the next day.
But again, so if I can do that to my mother who was tearing my butt up, and this dude, you hit me with that whip one more time, it's gonna be me and you.
But we are in a war, and if the thing about it is that I'm speaking as a former military person, former Marine. Sometimes you're in a war, you don't even realize you're in a war.
Yeah.
That's key.
When I first joined the Marine Corps, we came into service after
Right.
Vietnam,
After
so we're the
Vietnam.
post-Vietnam era, and he's closer to that than I am. I came in, I signed in '78.
Why you tell him that? You trying to say I'm old?
You
See.
said I was old, and I was putting it on
No, I
point.
said you're a year older.
No, not today. Watch a
Put the
previous
past-
show.
brother.
I don't mind being old. I want to be older. Like I said, I'm only
got me
halfway
1 2
through,
weeks ago.
and I'm close. Yeah, I mean, I am. I think I got another 50 more years, 50 plus more years. I think that's my plan anyway. But you know, I don't have the final say. But the military had already started dropping down in ranks because of the sour taste in people's mouths from Vietnam and everything. But even that, so they always call you sign up in peacetime. This is peacetime military, peacetime. But there's never any time where it's just total peace. Because even though I signed up in '78, do you know within a year and a half we were in the Falkland Islands?
Wow.
So
It was
and,
still
I mean,
going.
yeah. So I mean, and then afterwards we had Bosnia and Herzegovina. Well, before then we had Beirut. I have friends that got killed there. We had some of our Arabs.
Even let's go back to Vietnam for a minute.
But people didn't really realize it
we
was
were
a war.
there as advisors.
In the 50s.
And how the heck that
In
ended
the
up being our
50s.
war? Yeah.
In the 50s.
We were
See,
advisors.
that was under Dwight David Eisenhower. See, people don't know that. And that's the other thing we're talking about. Knowing your history. You have to know your history
Yes.
in order to see where you're going.
Yeah.
Because you have to examine what happened, why it happened, and how to prevent it from happening again.
Right.
How to strategize. So you have to. And that's why if I can't impress anything else upon young people, sometimes you want to cancel out the older voices. Don't. Listen to the voices. I'm not saying follow the methods. Follow and see what they did, what they didn't do. Look at the hypocrisies. Look at the successes. Look at the failures. Examine that, and then look in your time, in your real time, what resources do you have? What resources don't you have? How do you network? Because that's the one thing about we are about connecting
And
the
you
bridge.
can be you
we
can
are
be an
connecting.
innovator.
And that's
Because
what I'm
like
saying.
taking
We're the last generation. Our generation, the last generation that saw the great migration from the south to the north. We're the last generation that saw Medgar and Malcolm and Martin and Fred Hampton in real time. We're the last generation that saw Jim Crow laws and segregation laws. We're the last generation that saw integration. We're the last generation that saw telephones not being party lines and phones where you had to pay rent for the phone company. We're the last generation that remember not having microwaves in the house. We're the last generation that had tin foil for your TV dinners. We're the last generation that saw black and white TV with a cathode ray. We're the last generation that remember seeing Scooby-Doo. We're the in real time and knew the songs and knew the dances and saw the clothes. So we're the last generation. So we're the ones that are sounding the alarm. We're the ones that do have a set of information that you might not want to hear, but you need to hear it.
But you need to know,
hear it.
right.
You need to know it.
Right,
So
right.
Haki,
right.
with that,
Any last parting words?
Well,
how do people find your website?
Certainly,
'Cause I saw
certainly.
it's pretty
Yeah.
fascinating. I like
Thank
some
you,
of the
thank
stuff
you.
have
Well, definitely check me out, Success Scholar, HAKI.com. Some of my documentaries are on there as well as my book, Mission Unstoppable, Success Scholar, HAKI.com.
Just
So
like the whole
it's great.
thing.
I'm looking forward to some of this cake, though. So
I wanted to add something real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
I think this is why the bridge is. This is why the bridge is so important. I talk about abstract a lot, but what we bring as a unit, in terms of what Doc just said about you guys being the last generation, it's vitally important that we know where we come from,
Yes.
because we have to understand that pain
Yes.
to actually understand what we need to do
Yes.
to change it,
Yes.
to do away with it instead of continuing the cycle.
Yes.
So where we connect the bridges is just not catchy. This is passion. This is what we do and who we are, and
Yes.
it all connects. And at the end of the day, it's not always fun, to read and have to sit down and listen. Maybe you feel like I don't feel like listening to this old lady today, but I promise you,
It's worthwhile
It's well
in
worth
there.
it, because it's not about you. When I say you, I mean my generation. It's about your children and their children. And the only way for us to get past where we've come from and where we are is to invest where
Yes.
we're going.
Yes. Well
And
said.
that's by investing
Well
in
said.
your children, because again, the saying is the children are the future.
Yeah.
With that
So-
being said, my walk to walk today is a little different. I want to thank everybody for celebrating my birth anniversary with me.
Oh, you're
I
welcome.
do. But this is also a day of celebration, too, because it was on this day in 2005 that my father made his transition. I wish you knew my dad. So I have his obituary, and I just want to read a little bit about it. And I said, yeah, you knew him and you loved him. And on June the 9th, 2005, he made his transition. William Horn Jr. was born to Richard and Ora Horn on May 1st, 1939 in Bessemer, Alabama, and moved to Akron, Ohio in 1944, part of that great migration. First impressions are lasting, and Bill ensured that his face would always be in the place. He was never late and had perfect attendance in school, a trait that he deployed his entire life. He was ranked 19th in the graduation class of 1958 at Howard Vocational High and was a United States Army veteran, dedicated his entire life to working. He was a shift foreman in the days that they didn't have black as shift foreman, and Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company, and was a member of the Top 10 Club and the only black one that was. Wow. He retired as a sergeant on the Goodyear Police Department after 31 years of service. He was a deputy sheriff in Summit County and retired as the assistant director of administrative operations. And in this capacity, he was the highest ranking black law enforcement officer in the county. Bill received numerous accolades locally and nationally and will be sorely missed. He was a lifetime member of Mount Lebanon Baptist Church. That was my dad. And I say that because I celebrate this day in the most fashionable way. Now that's to go to our next week's show, Abstract Excellence, our Father's Day show. If you still have a father that's alive today, you need to hug him. You need to say thank you. With that, don't forget,
fathers
Excellence.
do matter. Okay.
Abstract Excellence. Abstract Excellence next Sunday from 4 to 5. And on that, Ron, take us home.
You got the favor of God on your life. I guess that's it, good.
Like Jesus paved the way, I'm just trying to be a clone. Yeah, I serve a king that's forever on the throne. My